Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Wednesday. Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad to have you guys here. There's a lot going on out there. It's getting a little bit stranger. This morning I found out about something that is just weird and bizarre. Let me show you this picture here. You say, well, what am I looking at? Good question. Mexican government has released and put on view for the public 2,000-year-old alien corpses in coffins. This is an x-ray of one of them. They're 1,000 years old, so they're mummies. But they're not regular mummies. They're alien mummies, and there's two of them. And the Mexican government has said, here they are. Here's the aliens. I mean, I'm just telling you what I saw on the internet this morning. I know it's kind of bizarre. So here's a picture right here, and here's a skeleton that's under an x-ray. Look at the size of his head. He's got a head that's shaped like a banana, for crying out loud, but he'd have a big brain in there. I mean, for the size of his body, it'd be an enormous brain. The brain would be a funny shaped brain, go all the way back there, like, I mean, and what are those two things underneath its armpits? It looks like a device or something that hasn't rotted away, and it looks like it's metallic or something. And those three eggs in its belly, they look like they're maybe metallic objects as well. What in the heck? And of course, this on the very right is a close-up of those three objects in his belly. It look like eggs. Maybe there's some sort of mechanical devices or something. I just don't know what in the heck we're looking at there. Anyway, let's move on. I know this is a little bit of a... I told you, it's weird. It's weird stuff. The Russian Navy today, at their port at Sevastopol. Anyway, it's in Crimea, on the southern tip of Crimea. Let's look and find out where it's at, right here. This is it. It's on the southern tip of Crimea. Okay, let me pull up. Let me zoom in here. It's this area that's highlighted right here on the southern tip of Crimea. That's where it's at. So if I zoom out, you can kind of see now where it's at, right on the southern tip of Crimea. And there's Ukraine up there. Now, that's a long way down there, from Ukraine down there. I mean, if that was in the opposite direction, it would be deep inside Russia, this attack. So Ukraine does have the capability now. This just shows that Ukraine has the capability of I'm not saying they're doing it, but they could attack deep. If they can attack there and there, they can attack anywhere in here. I don't know, maybe even reach Moscow. I mean, they got deep penetrating ability now for attacking, with these long-range things that they have. Take a look here. It says major shipyard in Russia, Russian-controlled Crimea caught fire in late night. Ukrainian missile attack, official says. The Russian-style government of Sevastopol, or I don't know, posted a photo of the fire on Telegram on Wednesday morning. It's evidently this is big. This is a big escalation in the war, but we shouldn't be really all that surprised that there's going to be escalation. And sooner or later, one of these critical flare-ups in the war could lead to it escalating and NATO possibly getting involved. Look, we had over the course of the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 drones fly into Romania and crash. And the Romanians are not too pleased. And Romania is a NATO country. And, I mean, what's next? Maybe one of these drones might not come down in the woods next time. Maybe it might fly into a school or something like that. And then it's all over. It's all over at that point. Article 5 would probably be invoked. And probably be troops on the ground against Russia. And, at that point, things escalate further very quickly. I'll tell you guys what, I was watching Rafi Farber last night. Hey, man, oh man, he's intelligent. He's on top of the ball. I'm going to tell you, he is no slouch when it comes to finance. He knows what he's talking about. He brought up a point that I've missed, something that I've missed, and I said, hey, he's right. He's right. Is speed. See, I kind of judge this hyperinflation by hyperinflations that occurred in the past, and I kind of model it after, especially the hyperinflation that occurred in Weimar Germany. But this is not Weimar Germany now. Things have changed a lot. So what's changed? Really big time change within the financial system between Weimar Germany and now. Well, back then they didn't have computers. Back then, news was spread with newspapers. It wasn't spread with high-speed telecommunications devices like smartphones. And so the speed, and he's right, this thing is not going to move slow. It's going to be a tipping point. It's just like, you ever heard the old saying, news travels fast? Well, how fast does news travel if everybody's got a cell phone? And I hate to say this, when we hit the tipping point and panic hits the markets, these moves can be spectacularly fast. Now, you guys have to know that, like in car accidents, if you were going 3 miles an hour, like through a parking lot or something, and you run into something, there's not going to be significant damage. But if you're going 100 miles an hour down the freeway, or even between traffic, and you get into an accident, there ain't going to be nothing left of your car. The speed. And that's the same way with this. It was bad what happened in Weimar hyperinflation in Germany. But it didn't have that velocity or speed that does now, that things do now. This could quite literally, and this reemphasizes the point that I've been telling you guys, do not get trapped in the dollar. I think that what could actually happen is when we get this transition, it could be actually, because of the speed of all these things, it could be almost an overnight process. We go from a movement toward disinflation and the dollar being strong to an all-out panic out of the dollar that's spread through telecommunications. Because the Fed has to react to a situation within the markets. Some sort of a panic situation where could possibly come from the banks, could possibly come from other markets or the derivatives markets or whatever. And they've already reacted to a couple panic situations. Remember at the start of the COVID crisis, the Fed had to react to they had to go into the overnight markets and stuff, and they had to prop the system up with a lot of money with reverse repos and things like that at the beginning. That was a crisis. But the panic didn't spread to the general system because the Fed kept it on the down low. And then they had another one, the Silicon Valley banking crisis. So we've had two just within the last not a long period of time. Well, this one that's coming is going to look more like the 2008 crisis, but more severe. When that panic spreads out from this, and the Fed has to do that flip-flop thing where they try to fix things with money, and that's the only tool they have. So of course, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. and the only tool they have is money creation, they're going to use it. When they use it, the panic that spreads out from that, because this system's all interconnected with computers and also interconnected with telecommunications, this could be frighteningly fast, and you could get trapped in dollars, and the dollar go from from hero one day to zero the next, quite literally within a matter of hours. And you've got a whole big, tons and tons, because you've went all in on dollars because you said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do like the rich people do. I'm going to wait until the system crashes, and then I'm going to swoop in and buy everything at pennies on the dollar because we're heading toward deflation. Yeah, but that deflationary event might only last hours. Because on the other side of that, you got this monster, the Fed, and they're not going to allow the system to deflate. But if they try to stop deflation, say goodbye dollar. Think about it for a minute. You got to be balanced right now. You got to have a balanced portfolio. And that means having gold and silver as part of your portfolio. Real physical. Very important. Let's take a look now. So the Russian Navy has taken their Black Sea fleets went up in flames in Crimea. That can't be good. And we got aliens. That's how coming up to date on where we are in the show. That's the two things we're talking about right now. Taking a look now at the hurricane. Here it is. Okay, I'll tell you what I see. I'm looking at a satellite shot of the hurricane right now, and I'll tell you what I see. I see that there's an awful lot on this northern semicircle. There's a tremendous amount of the hurricane being torn apart by wind shear. That's what I see. And I see dry air making its way into the core of the hurricane here on the western semicircle, being pulled right in, and an indistinct eye. The eye looks like it's going through eye wall fluctuations of some sort, and it's barely an eye at all. It's like, that's not a healthy looking storm. Absolutely not a healthy looking storm at all. And it looks like to me like it's going to go through a rapid de-intensification, because it's not a healthy looking storm. I mean, the convection in around the core of the storm is not real good either. The cloud tops don't look like they're all that warm, or cold, I should say. I mean, it just doesn't look like a healthy hurricane to me. It looks like it's being torn apart by possibly wind shear or whatever, coming up against this frontal boundary to the west. I'm not that worried about this hurricane, even though they give impressive figures for it right now. They say it's still a major hurricane. I think it's just hanging on, and it will probably be downgraded very soon. But it's coming toward me. So I guess I'm going to find out in the next few days. Taking a look here at the silver price today. 22.87 is down 18 cents on the day so far. Boy, what a bargain. Oh my God, I can't believe it's still putting in a 22 handle on silver's $22 price. I can't hardly believe it. With everything else going up the way everything else has went up, it's almost unbelievable that silver's this cheap still. It's a very impressive, the power that these banks had. I said had. Maybe that's a Freudian slip, because it's just about getting ready to be over. Over in a big way. Boy howdy. Gold right here is $19.10. It's down $2 an ounce today so far. Taking a look at our cryptocurrencies is uh, Bitcoin's doing a little bit better. It's not $25,000 anymore. Now it's 26,278. Looks like it's holding it. Ethereum is at 1609 and XRP is at 48.35 cents. Seems like that's where XRP always is. Like, kind of, I think 5 years ago, I was saying it's 50 cents a piece for XRP. It's still 50 cents a piece. I mean, they get these fluctuations, you know. Stock market today, what we're looking at is the Dow. I got to click on the Dow here. 78 points to the upside at 34,724. Taking a look at crude oil, 89.27. No, 89.21. It's up 37 cents on the day so far. So we're at the 90 mark pretty much now. I can pretty much say we're at the 90 mark. Watch it hang around 90 for a while. And then it'll start heading up toward 100. And oh my gosh, if war ever breaks out in that area of the world where the oil is, like Iran, a war between Iran and I don't know, the sabotage on the oil infrastructure, if a war were to break out like that, could be enormous, and the United States would only be left with what the United States produces, which would mean oil shortages. Because the United States does produce quite a lot of oil. I think at last count, I think it's over 10 million barrels a day. So it would have oil in the United States, you know. But it would be like not as much as probably as we consume. So that means there would be constraints would have to be put on our oil use. And the price, too, and take that into consideration, you know. Taking a look now at the U.S. Treasuries, and we're seeing rise in yields. It's fairly substantial, too, today. The U.S. 10-year stands at 4.28. It's risen 1.6 basis points. And the U.S. 30-year is at 4.35. It's risen 1.2 basis points. Now, I'm going to tell you, this yield curve inversion that exists here, it's huge, for one thing. If we're looking at a 10-year at 4.28, and you can go for a 1 month at 5.38, you know, we're looking at over one whole basis point. Over a 1 month is over a 10-year. This is backwards, the way things should be. This is like trying to breathe out of your big toe. I mean, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but here it is, and it's staying this way. It's called a yield curve inversion, and it's a sign of something much bigger problems within the financial system, and that we all know there's much bigger problems. The whole thing is on the verge of collapse right now. End of a Ponzi scheme. The end of a 40-year-long credit extravaganza. And you finally have to pay the piper. Taking a look now at the dollar index at 104.66. And the dollar is it's crested and starting to go down a little bit now. Well, thank you guys for tuning into my show. Be careful of those aliens out there. Especially the mummified ones. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode, and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.